So let's answer. What's it going to be? I have decided to have an elective repeat C-section. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Allie, an OBGYN, and today we're going to talk about my decision of whether to have a TOLAC/VBAC or an elective repeat C-section and why I've decided what I've decided. I really want to film in my glasses, but the glare, it drives me nuts. I don't know if it bothers you, but it bothers me. So we're just going to take them off. Now, I'm not opposed to a TOLAC or a VBAC. I would actually love to have a VBAC and experience a vaginal delivery. I didn't want to have a C-section with my daughter, but here we are. If you missed my whole story about the birth of my daughter, I'll link it down below, but I was not planning on having a C-section with her. She ended up being breech, she was oligo, I had severe preeclampsia, and she was growth restricted. It was just the best option for her safety and her health to have a C-section. Did I love my experience with the C-section? No, but I knew it was the best option and the recovery really wasn't that bad for me. But again, at the end of the day, I would love to have a vaginal delivery. But here's why I have chosen to do an elective repeat C-section. Again, this is my choice, my opinion, why I'm doing it. If you feel very differently, please, by all means. I just have thought about this for a really long time. I've talked about it with my own doctor. I've talked about it with my friends, with my husband, with like other OBGYN colleagues I have. And this is just what I feel most comfortable with. Every pregnancy is different. For example, like I mentioned with Eleanor, my daughter, first of all, the only not different thing is that I don't like being pregnant. It's just not for me. But the difference between these two pregnancies, with her, I had blood pressure issues. So I had severe preeclampsia. I had really bad swelling. She was growth restricted. She was always breech. I always struggled with her amniotic fluid. Like her fluid was always low to like borderline to dangerously low, which is ultimately why I had to deliver early. And this pregnancy, this is a boy. I don't know if you saw that announcement, but with this boy, significantly different. So far, no blood pressure issues. I'm 33 weeks and no issues with his fluid. He's always been cephalic, which means he's always been head down. No problems with his growth. His last growth ultrasound 3 weeks ago, he was 40th percentile, which is perfect. Nellie was never that high. Nellie was always like 20th percentile, then dropped to like 13th, then dropped to like 7th, and then was just not growing well. But with this pregnancy, with this boy, I have gestational diabetes. So it's like, okay, I didn't have gestational diabetes with her, but here we are tackling something new because every pregnancy is different. Anyway, that being said, because I have gestational diabetes and I have now had to start insulin because my fasting blood glucose levels are high. So I take insulin at night before bed. I started off on 10 units. I had to titrate up to 12. Yesterday I had a visit with my doctor and we agreed that we should bump up to 14 units at night. So I started taking 14 units last night. I'll do that for a week, continue with diet and exercise, and see how it goes. Because of my gestational diabetes, the recommendation from ACOG on someone, ACOG is the American College of OBGYNs, on someone who has gestational diabetes that is insulin dependent, like me, they recommend inducing labor or having your baby anywhere between 38 and 39 weeks. It doesn't have to be exactly 38 weeks. You can always continue to monitor, and if everything's good, you can do 39 weeks. But for me, I think it's just good. And for my mental health and worry and anxiety that I feel around everything, that I just be delivered at 38 weeks. Along with my diagnosis of gestational diabetes, I also do antenatal testing. So I'm seen in the office twice a week, one for a non-stress test and two for a BPP, and then a visit with my doctor as well. So I'm in the office monitoring his well-being very closely. I'm very aware of his movements and he's been very healthy, which is such a blessing and I'm so excited. But either way, I don't need him to be exposed to high levels of sugar all the way to 39, 40 plus weeks because that can get very dangerous when babies are exposed to so much sugar all of the time. Between me and my doctor, we have decided that the best thing for me and for him is going to be delivery at 38 weeks. Now, me having had a C-section with Nellie, my daughter, is two options. I could either be induced at 38 weeks or I can just have an elective repeat C-section. And it was all up to my doctor, and she's like, whatever you feel comfortable with, I feel comfortable with. And to be honest, at the end of the day, as an OBGYN myself, and if you saw my last video, you already know this, but as an OBGYN, I don't love inducing TOLACs. I don't love inducing women that have had C-sections. It's just, can you do it? Absolutely. Have I done it? Yes, because that's what my patient wanted. But when you induce someone with a C-section, the chance of having a successful and safe vaginal delivery or a VBAC is lowered. Can it be done? Yes. Has it been done in the past? Have I delivered a successful VBAC after, inducing them? Absolutely. But it's just not something that I myself as a patient want to experience. I also, not that I'm superstitious or believe in any like curses or anything like that. I'm a Christian and all that good stuff. I do kind of think like the medicine curse is the thing. Like if you work in healthcare or like the nurse curse, like come on. I'm an OBGYN and in my last pregnancy, I got preeclampsia, oligo, and IUGR. And this time around, I have GDM. It's like, okay, of course it's happened to me. I think of it in the sense of it's making me a better doctor and a better advocate for my patients and to be more patient, to be more understanding, to be more empathetic because I have lived through the crappiness of these diagnoses and pregnancy. So it's all for good. It's made me a better person and a better clinician. But still, anyway, that being said, I feel like if I were to get induced, I just feel like I'd have a uterine rupture. Like I'd have the most rare of the rare things. And I know that's crazy because probably the chances of that happening is really low. But I'm like, you know what? I'd rather not put myself through that. I'd rather just go in with a scheduled date for my C-section, show up in the morning, be ready to go, have my C-section, meet my baby, bond with my baby, be there 1 to 2 days, and then go home. That sounds like a good option for me, which is why I elected to do that. Here is the difference. If for whatever reason, before 38 weeks, like say I'm 37 weeks, my water breaks and I start having contractions and I go to OB triage, I get evaluated, they check me, I'm 4 to 5 centimeters, I'm contracting on my own, I'm making cervical change, I'm doing it, I will allow myself to TOLAC at that point. I just simply don't want to be induced. But if I go into spontaneous labor on my own and I'm making cervical change and I'm progressing and he's healthy and he's fine, that's the best case scenario for a successful VBAC. So a part of me, and I have prayed about it, part of me does pray that I go into spontaneous labor on my own. But if I make it to 38 weeks, there's no signs of labor, my cervix is closed, thick and high and not dilated, we're gonna do a repeat C-section and I'm totally okay with that. But if I show up to the hospital and I'm like 5 centimeters contracting, let's do it. Let's attempt it. So that is my own personal choice and what I feel comfortable doing. Ultimately, I strongly believe this needs to be a decision that you feel comfortable with and that your doctor feels comfortable with. No one should pressure you. No one should influence you one way or another. And there's no right or wrong answer unless there's like a contraindication to you having a VBAC. But to your doctor, figure out your risks, benefits, and weigh it against your heart. Like, what are you comfortable risking? You know what I mean? I already have a date where I'm gonna deliver. I have a time. I'm in the books. I'm scheduled with the hospital, and I'm excited. I feel like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel now that I have a set date. And that gets me excited too because this pregnancy has not been easy, and I'm excited that I know that there's an end in sight. I mean, I know there's always an end in sight, but you know what I mean? Like, just having a date just brings me peace of mind. So that is my decision. That is why I have elected a repeat C-section. Also, another reason too is that Corey and I don't want any more kids after 2, and we're comfortable with that. So let's say that Corey and I wanted 5 kids. I would probably at that point opt to do a TOLAC and a VBAC because the more C-sections you have, the riskier that becomes to subsequent pregnancies, and you're at an increased risk of having more complications. So if Corey and I wanted more kids, then I would say I would probably be more leaning towards a vaginal delivery so that I could give future babies a better chance, if that makes sense. But we know this is going to be the last one, so I'm like even more comfortable doing a repeat C-section. And things to consider, things to think about, all that good stuff. And that's it. I hope that made sense. And if you have any other questions, comments, you want to hear more, please let me know down below. I'm going to link my other video too, where I talked about specifically the risks, benefits, definitions of TOLAC, VBAC, repeat C-section, all that good stuff, so that you guys are well informed. I always pray that you guys find amazing providers that listen to you, that are open to having these conversations with you and figuring out what's going to be best for you, and that you guys are a team, because it's not one versus the other. It should be a team. So anyway, that's it. That's what I'm doing. I wish you guys the best of luck if you're currently pregnant or you're similar to me. I'm 33 weeks. We're almost there. We're in the home stretch. And I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.